has never been a more important time to move in a vegan direction. Whether you're ready to start, restart, or re-energize your vegan or plant-based practice, this podcast is for you. I'm Michele Olander, life coach, vegan, ADHD matriarch, travel lover, and smoothie loather. And I know that it's the details that get in the way of your vegan journey. But I like to believe that the obstacle is always the way. So every week we meet here where I translate the tools of life coaching and Stoic philosophy. I bring you actionable tips, some laughs, interesting guests, and vegan ideas for everyone at any age. All to help you veg your best. Episode 246. Eat the Change. How Plant Burger's flipping the script on fast food with co-founder Jonah Goldman. Hi, my Vedge Your besties. It's Michele. And today's episode is for everyone who's ever thought fast food and ethics can't share a table. I'm joined today by Jonah Goldman, co-founder of Plant Burger, that's PLNT, and a powerhouse of a voice for rethinking how we eat, what we eat, and why it matters. Jonah shares how a childhood visit to an animal sanctuary planted a seed that would eventually grow into Plant Burger. That's a plant-based fast food brand where even the skeptics in blind taste tests say, wait, this isn't beef? We're going to talk about Plant Burger, how it got its start in a tiny Whole Foods burger counter, the radical idea of making fast food joyful and kind, and why Jonah believes ordering a burger can be a form of activism, especially when it's 100% plant-based, kosher, halal, GMO-free, and delicious. And that sounds like real inclusivity, doesn't it? So whether you're vegan curious, still stuck on the idea that nothing can replace the drive-through burger, or maybe you just love someone who feels that way, this conversation might just surprise you. And that's in the best way. So stick around. We're going to talk about Plant Burger's impact calculator also. And that is a very cool live running tally showing how much land and water and carbon and other things that you're saving with every bite. Plus, I hear there's a free burger or sandwich waiting for you just for downloading the Plant Burger app. But let's start at the beginning, and I'm going to see you on the other side. Jonah Goldman from Plant Burger, welcome.
Thank you so much, Michele. Thanks for having me.
Well, I stumbled for a second there because my daughter calls it Planet Burger. There are no vowels in the beginning there. PLNT.
That's right. And I'm glad she calls it Planet Burger. I also often call it Planet Burger, and it is intentionally set up that way to be ambiguous so that customers can create their own definition and association between planet, plant, and plenty, the idea of abundance that can come from having more plants in our food system and in our diets.
Well, I think it's so important to have you on our podcast today. I would love to make sure that all our listeners know about you because you have been committed to making vegan options, plant-based options available for a variety of reasons for quite a long time. And not to belabor it too much, but I would love your short how I got here.
Yeah, thank you for asking. I'll condense it down to the footnotes. And it's fitting that I have this painting of a cow here behind me, because my journey into immersing myself in food systems really started when I was around 8 years old, and I had my first trip to the Poplar Spring Animal Sanctuary and had a great time. And I went back around when I was 10 and continued to just fall in love with the animals every time we would visit. And one time after visiting the animal sanctuary, my dad took us there and wanted to expose us to farm animals and do some animal therapy with us. And I'm one of 3 boys, so I'm sure it was also a good thing for him to bring us into that new environment. And we went back and had Peruvian chicken for dinner. And I remember looking at the bodies, turning on the skewers and remembering the similarity in this rooster, George, who had led us around the sanctuary all day. So I asked my dad, what is the difference between George, the rooster, and these chickens that are here and that are going to be our dinner? And he didn't really have a good answer for that. And he sort of pushed me to learn more. Whereas I think many parents may have just sort of shut it down, like don't think about it and don't get into it. He and my mom both, supported me in asking more questions around where does our food come from and what is the impact of choosing to eat these foods. And so I very quickly, at age 10, learned about the ugly nature of factory farming and realized it's so prevalent that represents the vast, vast majority, over 90% of the meat we eat in America comes from confined animal feeding operations or factory farms. And without any connection to that process and the impact of taking a life, I decided then to not eat any animals that I didn't personally harvest or kill. And so that led me on a path of vegetarianism at an early age. And I made myself a nuisance to my family every morning with these impassioned speeches about animal rights and the impacts of our consumption choices. And the fact that we are complicit, when we're eating those products, we're through supply and demand, we are supporting and demanding more of these products to be created. And I think that most people just, at that age especially, I was so upset that I think most people ignored that or didn't know about it. And so I would just tell everybody and make myself very difficult to be around. And at one point, my brothers sort of gave in to my persistence. And then my mom and dad realized, we're going to have to be cooking vegetarian for them and something else. And so today we are all 100% plant-based. And we were vegetarian from the time I was around 13 until 2019 when we watched The Game Changers and we realized we can do this. There's really just eggs and cheese that we had to transition into plant-based sources. Um, and so that's sort of what our diets all look like now. But that early realization led me down the path of researching and working in food systems, studying food policy at Colorado College, working in the natural products space for a variety of different companies, from organic ketchup companies to an early stage Beyond Meat, uh, to other innovative companies that are still around and changing people's options and choices. To eventually, in 2019 as well, being able to bring Plant Burger into the world, which is a restaurant that had been a dream of mine since I was around 10, and I gave up eating my favorite foods, which were chicken nuggets and hamburgers from McDonald's and my mom's hamburgers. Um, raised in those on those products, it was sort of a sacrifice at the time. And so I always felt interested in providing people with those same products, the comfort foods we know and love, but without the destructive system of factory farming and without using animal products. And so it was a really exciting moment for me to be able to bring this idea, and I should say, with the help of an amazing team of experienced professionals who are my co-founders and the rest of the team at Plant Burger, who all came together and made this vision a reality, and opened the first Plant Burger in 2019 and have been growing the brand and working along the East Coast to really expand our footprint ever since.
Well, one of the reasons I really wanted to have you on the podcast is because you do have such a such an academic and fluent understanding of food systems and food science and agriculture and what it means. Because a lot of people, especially my listeners, are often people who are moving in this direction in later life. And one of the things I hear often is people ask me all the facts and figures to explain myself and to defend myself and to like why would you do that? And so it's just nice to have that voice of someone. I always say you don't have to, you don't owe anybody an explanation if you know what you want to do and you know what's right. We don't have to be able to become the advocates, the spoken advocates that Jonah, that you've become in terms of educating other people. So I love, and I hope you'll drop in any facts and figures along the way today that you think are helpful for us to know, because even if we don't remember them in detail, it helps us know that this is not just a frivolous decision. It's something that has tremendous impact in places we don't know about.
Yeah, totally. And that was quite flattering. Thank you. I don't think that I'm fully an expert, still very much a student and learning along the way. But yeah, I think that the science is quite clear on a litany of reasons why this makes so much sense, for health reasons for humans, obviously for animal rights, for resource shortage reasons, for climate reasons. We know that our current food system, the way that we um, aggressively factory farm so much animal protein, is one of the leading causes of climate change. It's the leading cause of deforestation. The vast majority of crops grown worldwide are not grown, in fact, to feed humans, but rather as animal feed. And so it represents a massive excess and misallocation of resources. We would have so much more food and calories to feed humans if we simply transitioned a small amount of our current protein intake from animal-based sources to plant-based sources. So,
food, not feed, I've heard you say.
yeah, food, not feed is a great catchphrase. And it's actually funny you mentioned that. That was the name of a summit that um, Farm Action spearheaded, and I was a part of supporting through this collaboration. But the Food Not Feed Summit was actually a gathering in DC with policymakers and with advocates from uh, farmers' rights groups and plant-based organizations and even regenerative agriculture, that all came together to say the way we currently have our subsidies in America set up does not serve the American people. It serves the interests of primarily meat and dairy producers by subsidizing massively the cost of feed, uh, and also the environmental damages, and the transportation costs, and a number of things that would otherwise make those products so much more expensive. And instead of subsidizing all of those commodity crops for animal feed, if we were to take some of the funding, or even just increase a little bit of funding for nutrition for humans, we would be making fresh fruits and vegetables much more accessible to Americans that need that. And Cory Booker was there and spoke. Sustainable ranchers from Colorado were there to say, confined animal feeding is wrong, and we need to do a better job of regulating these industries because they're getting away with so many environmental crimes, and the consumers are bearing the brunt of the damages, both in the immediate end of consuming those products that then cause dye-related diseases or heart disease, and then in the long term, we're destroying the global commons with the way we're exploiting our environment to do this really wasteful conversion of calories to consumable calories. And so I always think of it in that kind of equation. We can produce 100 pounds of grain and feed 100 people, let's say, or we could reduce it down to 1 pound of beef that maybe feeds one human. And we're wasting, and that's in the very, very best case scenario where we're not wasting any of the cow. So it's just the conversion in terms of efficiency and calories is so backwards with confined animal feeding that we all came together to advocate for, again, for food and not feed. And not to say like we want to totally take away all the subsidies for animal feed, but more equitable spending towards foods that we know are healthy for humans would be nice. I think that's something we could all agree on.
So one of the actions you have taken in terms of understanding this and believing this is you founded a company, Plant Burger, and with your co-founders.
Co-founded, yes.
Co-founded, you
Yeah.
co-founded with your co-founders, and feel free to make sure I say it correctly. I really want to make sure everybody gets the credit that they should have. Um, and we talked about in the very beginning. You said something about lowering the barriers to entry to certain sorts of behaviors that would be in alignment with what you're talking about. And one of those barriers is a perception that food is not vegan or plant-based food's not delicious.
Yeah, that is a massive perception for consumers and a misconception that we aim to debunk daily with every bite of delicious comfort food. And that's one of the core values of Plant Burger is what we call radical inclusivity. So we say there should never be a reason that someone can't enjoy our food. We have options. The entire menu is kosher certified. It's halal. We have gluten-free options. It's GMO-free. Um, and there's a major focus on deliciousness because if it's not as, if not more delicious than the animal products that are so prevalent in the market, consumers won't care. And so we have to demonstrate that this switch from animal-based proteins or animal-based foods to plant-based foods is in fact not a sacrifice, but rather an upgrade. An upgrade in terms of flavors is really the most important thing that we have to achieve because, again, we're sensory creatures and the way things look and smell and taste is of utmost importance for a restaurant. And so to that end, it's chef-crafted food. We have Chef Spike Mendelsohn, who is a seasoned restaurateur and burger chef, lending his culinary skill and expertise to the craft of our burgers, to such an extent that people who try our burgers in a blind taste test won't know that it's plant-based. And I think that is really the most important credential. When I brag about Plant Burger, that's always the case study that I point to. We ran a promotion called the Plant Believe It Challenge, where we gave influencers our food and asked them to record their friends trying food from a new burger place. And without prior knowledge, none of these test subjects, the friends of the friends, were able to distinguish that this was a plant-based burger. They all thought it was a beef burger, and they loved it. And even for our chicken sandwich, we got the same reactions. And so deliciousness is key. And if it's not bringing people joy, it won't succeed. And that's just the reality of the restaurant business. It has to be giving people a unique consumer experience of joy, and feeling of warmth, nostalgia, and burgers are central to American cuisine. That's really it's a you could say a staple of our diets. Americans consume upwards of, I think it's 50 billion hamburgers a year, something along those lines, and so it's a pretty astronomical number. And we love our burgers. We don't want to give up our burgers, nor should we have to. And now, really, I think for the first time in the history of food innovation, we can have our burgers and eat them too. Meaning, we can keep our favorite comfort foods in our diet. We don't have to give them up. We can just eat these same foods made of slightly different ingredients. In fact, more direct ingredients, because instead of processing all these ingredients from plants through a cow's digestive system and into their muscles to be integrated into their body, and into a burger eventually, directly from the plants into a burger, we save resources. We can cut out nasty ingredients like cholesterol, macronutrients like the high levels of saturated fat. These sort of ingredients and health downsides of animal-based products while including all the protein and then including also positive things like fiber to make digestion easier. Um, so yeah, so the campaign, the Plant Believe It challenge, I think it did a good job of showcasing that often the barrier to entry is really just a mental thing. We create an idea that this is different and that this is going to be lesser than the thing I was always eating, and so I'm not even going to try it. But if we were just able to try it without prior knowledge, or maybe because we open our minds a little bit to something new, um, it opens up a whole new world of flavor and a different feeling too. It's like when you try our burger compared to a beef patty, you probably won't notice the difference in flavor, but after you eat the burger, you'll be satisfied, but you won't be weighed down. So that's the one difference is you'll feel even better, be able to think clearer, to not need a siesta after you've chowed down. And so it's, as we say, it should be an upgrade. We aim to really make it an upgrade, and to make it as easy as we can for Americans to say yes to burgers and say no to, confined animal feeding operations, no to factory farms, and no to animal cruelty, and to all the other things that I think most people really don't want to cause, don't agree with. Um, it's aligning our values with our consumer choices. And doing that in a fun way is important. And I think also the only way to really make it widespread.
Well, I see the word joy through a lot of your marketing, through your website. I know that it seems to be a core value of Plant Burger. And when you say Plant Believe It, that campaign, that is, in my mind, 100% of what keeps us from moving in that direction is because we can't believe it. We just can't believe it. We're like, well, if it was healthy, my mom would have told me. If it was safe, somebody else would have told me. My doctor would have insisted that, because most of us just don't believe, or don't believe we can stick with it, that we can
Yeah.
try. And I think having opportunities to believe it could be delicious, believe it could be convenient. So this is the other thing. You have Plant Burger is it called a fast casual? What do you call your Plant Burger?
We call it the future of fast food. So it's very much branded as a fast food restaurant, but for the future.
And you are located, so you started in 2019. I can't imagine what 2020 was like for you.
Yeah, it was quite a whirlwind. But yeah, so we launched in 2019, in September of 2019, with a Whole Foods partnership. So we had pitched the concept of chef-crafted, planet-friendly fast food for the future to Whole Foods regional offices, and they said, we'll give you a shot in one of our locations in Silver Spring. They had a open burger counter that was vacant at the time, and so they offered us the opportunity to go into that space and open the first plant burger, which is another unconventional way of um, operating a restaurant business. So uh, it was a really low risk way as well to get into this space and sort of do a proof of concept with this single burger counter. And it's a 110 square foot little kiosk, a tiny little, almost a shoebox, where you can barely fit. But it was a really great first location for us. The Silver Spring community um, is an incredible, beautiful, vibrant community of extremely diverse populations. And so we were thrilled to be able to serve that community and to see the product resonate with such diverse audiences. So that was a really gratifying piece of our opening, and the immediate results that we saw and the success we had in that first location was what allowed us to grow regionally within the Whole Foods infrastructure. And so during 2020, which you mentioned was crazy, and 2021 was for us as well, we had the opportunity to continue growing within Whole Foods despite the bizarre nature of the economy that was happening. We wanted to continue to serve, plant-based, planet-friendly, um, and also I would say safe food. And so we took that opportunity and grew to over the years we've now built 11 locations within Whole Foods along the East Coast, and two locations that are brick and mortar, more conventional restaurants.
And those are where?
Those are in New York. One is located at 1147 Broadway, right next to North Madison Square Park, and the other is in the Coolidge Corner neighborhood, right outside of Boston.
And what would this is a question? My husband's a businessman, and he had some questions for you because he's the designated shopper. He did not trust me during COVID to not infect the entire family. So he insisted on doing all the shopping, and he would wash everything and clean everything and put everything away. So I actually have since then let him continue that. But he's the one who knew a lot more about Plant Burger because of Whole Foods, being in Whole Foods a lot. So what he wants to know, what demographics or situations and communities are you looking for to roll out your Plant Burger standalone brick and mortar spots?
That's a great question. Anytime we look to open a location, we do a pretty thorough analysis of the demographics. The best case scenario for us are, of course, densely populated urban areas. But we see that there's a lot of demand for our restaurants from um, mid, lower, and even higher income populations. So economically, it's pretty diverse. Um, the fastest growing demographic of vegans is actually African Americans, and so we aim to serve that community as well. We are kosher as well, so we're able to serve people who have dietary restrictions or who follow the halal diet. Um, and the age of the population is also an important consideration for us. So we typically are seeing that our average customer is in their mid 30s. Um, and we're really popular with the younger crowds. So younger families and primarily younger professionals are really the ones who are our core audience right now. So we try and look for those areas. And yeah, the higher the density generally, the better our stores perform. So the Coolidge Corner neighborhood is a great example of tons of students in the area, lots of young families, a really diverse array of people of socioeconomic and ethnic backgrounds. And so it's really fun to work there because you meet this like incredible patchwork of different people, different backgrounds, and all there to enjoy Plant Burger.
And as a fast food concept, density would matter a tremendous amount. You want plenty of people walking by, driving by, able to come through.
Yeah, most definitely. Volume is key for fast food, and um, we're really aiming to just increase the volume. That the more burgers we serve, the better we're able to have an impact, a social and environmental and economic impact. And so um, we're trying to get our average volume up, and exposure really matters the most. So we have a dedicated sampling program and budgets for each location to provide free samples to the community. Because again, without that outreach, the grassroots level to say hello, hey, and I think everyone today is a bit more used to the digital world. But when you meet someone and they're offering you some free chili or a plant-based nugget, it makes it immediately available and accessible. And so uh, increasing awareness is still a major focus for us. Um, and we do a lot of other different marketing activities to bring in new populations and community events and things like that. But that's really what we're looking for, is to serve people who are in those sort of demographics and who are generally open-minded to new things.
And your when you were in this small square footage section of Whole Foods counter, how many products were you selling then? Was it just like burgers and customized
Yeah.
burgers, or
We started with a pretty slimmed down menu. So we offered burgers, cheeseburgers, a double burger. We have a specialty mushroom bacon barbecue burger, which has these incredible portobellos that we've sauteed in our chipotle barbecue sauce, crispy onions on top of that. So you get the chewy, you get the crunchy of bacon, and none of the animal product. And then we have a smaller sides menu than we do now. We just offered two kinds of fries. We had our crispy herb fries and we had our sweet potato fries. Today we also added green bean fries. We added some other sides like our nuggets and chili cheese fries. But we had basically those few burgers. We had a chili bowl. We had those fries I mentioned, and then we're really known for our milkshakes and our soft serve ice cream, which always is a perfect complement to a nice salty, savory burger and meal at Plant Burger.
so you're really building on the accessibility of what Americans know as a classic, for good or bad, American lunch or quick meal.
Yeah, yeah. And I think we all have a lot of memories probably growing up eating animal-based products. Like burgers were a huge part of my childhood, at least, and I think a lot of Americans have that nostalgia to go back and to feel the comfort of a diner and of a nice fast food burger. And McDonald's, I think, has done a great job of just ingraining themselves in our collective consciousness and in our habits and in our diets. Um, and we aim to really scratch that itch of the classic burger experience that people are looking for. Um, and again, just by swapping out proteins from one source to another, yielding enormous benefits for them and for all the other stakeholders that are involved in the food systems.
Now, in terms of how you position yourselves, I know that you are very welcoming. You were trying to lead, not punish. You're trying to entice, not to So I understand that, and I'm wondering if that means the word vegan is a word that gets a little bit that you consciously choose to not use as much as plant-based. It's a topic that comes up among people I talk to who are moving in this direction. They wonder, should I call myself vegan? Should I call myself plant-based? Should I say what I'm aiming at? And the words are funny in our world, the words we use.
Yeah, I think that we have to be careful around the branding and verbiage that we include in our marketing for the exact reason that you kind of touched on, which is preconceived notions. They can really prevent us from experiencing the rich offerings of the world and all the ways that we could um, improve our lives. And so uh, I think there's a lot of misinformation in the market around veganism, and despite there being overwhelming scientific evidence in favor of a plant-based diet, there still seems to be a lot more misunderstanding and propaganda being spread around uh, the process of making plant-based foods, the health benefits, um, the idea that you can't get adequate nutrition on a plant-based diet has been debunked numerous times, and a meta-analysis of all of the data available shows that not only is a plant-based diet totally suitable for all stages of life, it's actually far superior because you cut out all of these foods that are associated with higher risk of cardiovascular disease, chronic diet-related illnesses. Um, but debunking all of that is a pretty tall task for a fast food restaurant that really needs to be just solely focused on bringing people joy and deliciousness. Um, so we kind of tread carefully around those terms and try to, again, breaking things down in a way that is, if you'll pardon the pun, digestible for consumers. So we use the phrase plant-based. We say on our menus, there's a big golden font on top of our menu boards that says 100% plant-based, 1,000% delicious. And uh, and hopefully people can feel comfortable. We also say this anytime that we're sampling, and I think it is important to reassure consumers. If you try a burger and you don't like it, we will give you a refund. It is a zero risk scenario for you. If you honestly don't like the burger and you find it disgusting, we'll refund you. That's okay. Like, we want you to at least try it. And when we explain that to people and they say, okay, well, this guy seems so confident, and he seems to have all the confidence in the world that I'm going to love it. And they eventually try it. They do love it. and again, our dedication to flavor and textures that are so familiar, it matters. And I think that people are shocked when they try it because they've created an image in their head of what a plant-based burger looks like and feels like and tastes like, and it doesn't hold up when they try our burger. And I think uh, you know if you had presented 9-year-old Jonah with the idea of a plant burger, all the things that were available at that time back in this would have been back still in the 90s. All the options were like crumbly cardboard, horrible downgrades, and so that's what people think of when they think of a plant-based burger. But the reality is, it's juicy, it's crispy, it has the same chemistry of caramelization of the meat, the Maillard reaction, the browning of the meat that happens to animal protein is the exact same reaction that we're able to get with plant-based ingredients. Um, and so the mouthfeel matters, the flavors matter. And when you bite into a juicy quarter pounder from Plant Burger, you're not going to be lamenting your choice to try a plant-based option because your illusion of it being a crumbly green bean patty has been shattered. It is, and that's also an important piece that we want to pass on to the consumers to celebrate the impact that you just had. Not only did you open your mind to trying something new, but you had an amazing impact in reducing climate change and reducing your cholesterol, reducing your saturated fat levels, improving your health, improving your environmental footprint. And so we coined the phrase in the early days of Plant Burger, "Eat the change," which is a kind of a take on the quote, "Be the change you wish to see in the world," often attributed to Gandhi. That in order to manifest changes, we must be them, we must become them. And what better way to imbibe and actually become positive agents of change than by imbibing and consuming foods that are in alignment with the world that we want to create.
I'm glad you said that. I was going to feed you that line because I love that "eat the change" that you guys use. I love that. And I think that is it just encapsulates exactly what we're all trying to figure out. And in the meantime, you're telling us we don't have to sacrifice for that. Not at your place anyway.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. That's right. It's not a sacrifice. It is, and it should be simple, and it should be accessible. And I think that is another challenge that, right now most markets in America are faced with is maybe a lack of options. And so for listeners who are within our range of our delivery and within range of our stores, you are the lucky ones, and you can go and enjoy and eat the change and take part in the mission and the movement, the impact of conscious consumption. But I think, unfortunately, for a majority of Americans, the reality is that they live without access to delicious um, and healthier options that are plant-based. And so that's a challenge that we have to tackle. And the mission of Plant Burger is to disrupt the 72 billion dollar fast food industry in America that is so ripe for change. It's so ripe for destruction because the major players, McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, and many others own a enormous share of our diets, and we need to reclaim those dollars. We need to reclaim that power as consumers and not continue giving it to these massive corporations that continue to exploit humans, animals, and our environment in the process of making toxic food that also poisons us. And instead, um, reinvesting in our local food systems, supporting the small companies and supporting producers that are creating foods that are, again, in alignment with our values and our desires for a healthy planet, a healthy food system. Food should be our medicine, and what we're selling at Plant Burger, though I wouldn't necessarily, I would say it's medicine for the soul, maybe, but it's still fast food at the end of the day. It's not like I wouldn't call our burgers a health food, but they are far healthier than a animal-based burger. And so we're able to enjoy them with greater frequency. And I often tell people, and I think maybe some people are surprised to hear, like, I've eaten at one point 11 burgers to celebrate our 11th location opening in one sitting. I ate 11 burgers, and I was pretty stuffed. I won't lie, it was like quite a physical feat to fit that amount of burgers in my stomach, but I felt fine, and I was able to. Even later on that day, I went for like a little run, which I really don't think would be the case if those products were, animal based. So we're all about celebrating the changes that we're affecting through our consumption choices, um, both at Plant Burger and in general, like in our personal lives. We should always take pride and take joy in the small wins because it may seem insurmountable. And you and I had been talking about the idea before of it can be overwhelming to look at the world and think, how can I be a positive force for good in the world and for positive change? Um, but diet is really the biggest contributor to our impact on the planet. And so again, if we're able to harness that and use it towards good, we'll be doing a uh, massive impact towards a better future for future generations, for animals, and our descendants. On our website, we have a ongoing ticker, and it's actively counting the water, land, energy, and emissions that we are saving by virtue of serving our food. So we created a formula that's connected directly to our sales. So you're seeing in real time the impact that you're having. And in the Plant Burger app, we have a first party channel that we encourage all of our customers to use. You get a free burger when you download it. Again, to lower the barriers to entry. When you place orders on the Plant Burger app, we have an individual calculator so that you can see exactly how many square meters of land and gallons of water you're saving, the emissions that you're saving, and that should be, I think, front and center when we think about our food choices. And so we aim to really, again, congratulate people for helping to be saving the planet and making the food system safer, more resilient, and better for, again, all stakeholders, animals, the people who are producing, the farmers, people who work in the manufacturing, and the consumers at the end of the day.
Jonah, I'm so glad you mentioned that because it's kind of the flip side of billions served. It is what we're saving.
Exactly.
It's really beautiful. That's really beautiful. Jonah, I want to respect your time. You are a busy man. You've got a lot going on. I have a quick question. Are there stores all company owned, or are you are you going to do franchises? Is that something that's decided yet or not?
Yeah, we are currently all privately owned and held and operated. Obviously, we have great partnership with Whole Foods, so they're definitely a massive stakeholder in our current business, and we are exploring the opportunity for franchising. And I think there's key markets that are underserved in America that we would love to open plant burgers in and provide access to delicious, plant-based, planet-friendly fast food for those people. So more to come on that. We're looking into it, and hopefully we'll be able to scale more. In the year to come, we'll hopefully open another location on the East Coast. And after that, I think, hopefully the consumers will continue to demand this, and the demand will continue to increase, and we'll be able to scale and start replacing some of our major competitors on the corners of America's cities.
And then we can really eat the change.
Yes,
That is,
exactly.
Jonah Goldman, thank you so much for telling us more about Plant Burger. I think what you're saying is there's a place for all of us to eat the change, to be a little bit more leaning into what's possible out there. And I think it's really an inspirational story. I read that you were the youngest or the first intern at Beyond Burger.
Yes, I and my colleague. So we were the first two marketing interns to ever work at Beyond Meat back in the
Beyond Meat.
summer of 2013. Yes.
That's so great. So it's really kind of, as they say, a long, strange trip, but you are really, we're looking forward to what comes next at Plant Burger.
Thank you so much, Michelle. Thank you for having me. One recommendation for your next guest is our CEO, Chris Trelawney, who recently, in the past, I think it's now been 9 months, became fully vegan. We'd worked together for over a year before, and he, again, I think had that idea that this is nice, but it's not for me. I can't make those changes in my life. And ever since he did, he has gone off a lot of his medication. His health and well-being have skyrocketed. He's very happy with the choice, and is now even more passionate about like spreading this information and sharing it with people than I am, which is a pretty significant thing, I think. So I would definitely encourage you to. I'll connect you with Chris. He's got an amazing story, and I'm sure would love to share it with you.
Okay, listeners, you heard that. We have another guest coming up. That's great. That's super. Thank you so much, Jonah.
Thanks, Michelle.
So, what did you think of Jonah Goldman? Talk about an early adopter. I didn't go vegan until my 50s. I loved hearing how a childhood visit to an animal sanctuary sparked this lifelong mission of his. And I especially love Jonah's approach to meet people. Get it? Meet people where they are. I know, that's a bad pun, but maybe it's a timely reminder for all of us to spend a little more time meeting people where they are to be effective advocates. And even if you're not near any Plant Burger locations, at least for the time being, it's, I think, inspiring to know that their team is focused on serving up something even bigger than burgers. They're looking to redefine fast food as joyful and inclusive and impactful. And one of the coolest things is that Plant Burger Plant Impact page that you can see in real time if you go to the plantburger.com page. One of the choices of pages is Plant Impact. You'll see a live ticker tracking how every burger sold is saving gallons of water, preserving land, cutting emissions. And you'll see, or maybe someone you love can see, how not abstract this is. It is not someday. It's happening now. And the food still tastes amazing. So, want to see your personal impact? You can download the Plant Burger app. And Jonah says you're going to get a free burger or sandwich just for signing up. But that's your Vedge Your Best homework, to at least visit the impact calculator or send it to someone who might be open and curious about the consequences of meat consumption, especially this summer as we're going into the barbecue section of the year. Sometimes changing the world doesn't have to start with outrage. Sometimes it can just start with lunch. And if you're ready to eat the change that you want to see in the world, the first step is super simple. Always, you just veg your best. Vedge Your Best podcast production, music, and editing by Charlie Weinshank. Thanks, Charlie. Before you go, it would mean so much to me and the Vedge Your Best team if you would hit subscribe, leave us a 5-star review, or share with someone you think might be interested. something about algorithms. It helps bump us up a little in the rankings, and that's the best way to help others find the podcast and for us to find our audience. So, until next week, make it easy and veg your best.